I'm sitting here with somebody who has done incredible things, has done big things, and has moved and shaken the world in many different ways. And his name is Dennis Yu. He's an entrepreneur. He's the founder of BlitzMetrics, and you may have seen him on the Fiverr website. You may have seen him on ads.
When you're open to everything and you explore everything, you end up doing nothing and you have no specialization, no focus. Think about the one thing that you do that creates the most value. One product for one particular niche. Don't do everything for everybody, right? You got to focus down the whole thing with niching. If you think about something that you like to do and it creates value and you can do it repeatedly and you can document how you do it, you can scale the heck out of that thing.
Welcome to another episode here at the Trailblazers Talk podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Ortega, and we are committed to creating content that inspires, motivates, and empowers you as an entrepreneur so you can continue to blaze your own trail to success. And in today's episode, this is actually a very unique episode. It wasn't planned, and I'm going to share in a moment how we even got here, but I feel like this episode is going to be so cool. It's going to be so inspiring, and there's gonna be a lot of information shared. So as always, I want to encourage you to take notes, and if you need to replay this episode back, replay it back. But this episode is gonna be packed with wisdom, because I'm sitting here with somebody who has done incredible things, has done big things, and has moved and shaken the world in many different ways. And his name is Dennis Yu. He's an entrepreneur. He's the founder of BlitzMetrics, and you may have seen him on the Fiverr website. You may have seen him on ads. Your friends may be taking pictures with him. This guy has changed the game for virtual assistants and internet marketing and SEO for years. And I was driving to the gym the other day, and I was like, oh, I think I know this guy walking in front of me. And I pull up and I go, should I message him? What if it's not him? That's kind of weird. Like, hey, I think this is you. It's like, no, that's not me. That's freaking weird. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Hey, man, were you in that purple sweater? And you're like, yeah, it was me. And I invited you to the podcast, and here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Serendipity.
So it's one of those moments where it's like, maybe this was meant to happen, you know, and I'm really excited to dive into this conversation with you. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joseph. And thank you for this amazing hoodie that you printed just now on demand.
Yeah, on demand, the BlitzMetrics. I hope I got the logo right. Was that
looks great.
Okay, cool. I just pulled it from your Facebook page. I'm like, all right, well, it's on his Facebook, so it has to be the logo. Yeah. So, one of the things I've been connected with you, or I've been at least following you for a long time, and I've seen you do big things, and you travel the world, and you're living a life that many people are inspired to get to. But I'm really curious, man, like, what's your drive in this moment? When you wake up, like, what is your why? I'm not saying as an entrepreneur, I'm just saying as a person, like, what is your why today?
I got a call this morning from my friend Andy, who runs a plumbing company up in Vancouver, Washington. And he paid this agency $70,000 to do SEO and the website. And nothing happened. And then he said, hey, I talked to Dennis and we did an audit and we found out like nothing happened. So can you give me my money back or let me get out of this deal? And he wouldn't. And then this agency held him hostage.
Wow.
Which happens all the time. And then 20 minutes ago, as I was on my way to come see you, my friend Roger Wakefield called. And he said, Dennis, I'm so grateful for what we're doing together. Roger Wakefield is the most famous plumber among plumbers. He's got a huge YouTube channel, 30-year plumber, just sold his plumbing business for like $40 million. Wow. But he's a plumber. Actually, 30 years of like
in the grind,
hands and knees, dirt on his face, the whole thing.
Dang.
So all the plumbers know who he is. And I said, Roger, you would not believe this morning I got a call from Andy. And this is what happened with his agency. And he says, Dennis, I get that call every day.
Wow.
And every time I see this happen, I think, we need to do something about this because these businesses are getting ripped off by these people selling SEO and social media and influence and PR and Facebook, make you famous, influencer, blue check mark, get you on Forbes Inc., all that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
And it just makes me mad And I want to fix that. I'm one guy. But I was with Roger 4 days ago in Dallas at his place, and we did a live stream to his 600,000 YouTube subscribers saying, for example, why SEO is accountable, just like you want to fly a plane, there's no secret manual. You want to do anything, there's a certification, there's a step-by-step way to do that, and let's put it out there. So when you see me speaking on stage or on the Fiverr website or whatever, I get all these people every day that hit me up like, oh, I logged in the Fiverr and I saw it. Like, I know.
That too. I saw you.
Dude, I know. Like
funny.
all these like millions of VAs like know who I am.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. But I told Roger today, we are on the right track to building the certification. So if you want to be an accountant, you got to, get certified, pass the CPA. You want to be a pilot, you have to get a pilot's license and go through the flight school.
You want to be a doctor, you got to go to school.
You have to do all those things, right?
Yeah.
Because when you get on a plane, you're not ever worried about whether that pilot is going to crash the plane or whatever, right?
You trust in the pilot. Yeah.
But what happens when you hire a digital marketer? They say they're an expert. There's no licensing. There's no schooling.
There's no regulations.
I can just say, I'm an expert.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We want to change it. And it's not because we're trying to get the government involved. We don't even want the government involved. We want to bring both sides together, like I told you about. There's all of the organizations of plumbers that get together, the chiropractors get together, the real estate agents. I was the keynote speaker at the National Funeral Directors Association. So all the funeral directors worldwide get together. So all these guys get together, and they're now adopting the standard on how you do digital marketing. So it's no more hocus pocus, witchcraft, Ouija boards and all that stuff. Now we're moving from witchcraft to modern day MRI, blood, looking at your health metrics and all these kinds of things, right? And so the witch doctors are being driven out of this industry when folks like us who are practitioners say this is the way to do things. And that's what gets me up in the morning is I see good, hardworking businesses, like the plumber. He's a plumber, dude.
Right.
He doesn't understand. He's like, okay, well, the guy said it's going to be $70,000 to build a website. So, like, okay, how do I know?
He's just trying to feed his family.
Then I see these young adults, like my buddy Will Troop. He's 23, or is he 24? And he's a good guy, but he didn't understand the mechanics of how do you do SEO and local service ads and ranking in Google and all that kind of stuff to make the phone ring to make these plumbing HVAC companies successful. So he went through our system, and now we're training up lots and lots of Will Troops and Marco Cipolas and other people, these other young adults that you don't have to be young. I'm young as anyone younger than me. I'm almost 50, so whatever.
Yeah.
Like I'm twice your age.
Yeah, I could be your son.
But could and so there's all these folks that are following our certification and training process, and you could just Google it and get all that stuff for free, right? And then implement according to a standard that we know works. It's like, imagine, like, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food, Korean barbecue for sure.
I love KBB.
Yeah.
Right? Especially the galbi.
Yeah.
Because they marinate it in that sauce. Now, if you have the right ingredients, the right meat, and you have like the seasoning and stuff like that, and you follow the recipe on how to marinate and how to cook, don't you think you can get the same result reliably every time?
Yeah, if you follow the ingredients step by step.
If you have the ingredients and you follow the recipe, and you don't have to have Gordon Ramsay next to you to make it happen.
Right.
You don't have
fancy knives or fancy cookware or anything like that.
You don't need hocus pocus or whatever. And so I think we can demystify things like SEO and social media and PR and whatever you want to call it. Make it all just here's a formula. It's like, oh, it's a secret. I can't tell you. It's like I have magical proprietary techniques. I have to kill you to tell you. That's what these SEO people are trying to do. Because for many reasons, they're trying to hide what they're doing. Because A, they're not doing anything, or B, they're just scamming you. There's just like no good reason to hide what you do. Okay? If you're good, put out what you do. I was on Eric Schanfeld's podcast this morning, and he runs a local marketing institute. And this is the certifying body of all these people that do local marketing. And that publish the reports and all the experts in the industry of how do you do local SEO, and he's been publishing all these same things. All these people who know what they're doing are now coming forward in the last year or two and publishing their standards. So anyone who doesn't abide by the standard, who the hell are you?
Right.
So I love helping these businesses get control and clarity, whether they have an agency or not. And I love creating jobs for the young adults and the VAs that are doing the work. And the certification and the training ties it all together.
Wow.
And even if you don't have any money and you're a broke teenager in Bangladesh or Bangalore or Pakistan somewhere, you can go through our training because it's on YouTube.
Wow.
You can go to ChatGPT and say, I'm Joseph Ortega, and I run a POD company in Vegas. How would I apply Dennis Yu's $1 strategy? Well,
And
thank you,
it's
Joseph.
your
What you do
strategy
is blah, 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 blah.
in ChatGPT.
Go to ChatGPT
That's
and say,
crazy.
you are Dennis Yu. I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Wow.
And you're going to answer, right? And,
Yeah.
Or you are going to be whoever it is.
Yeah.
And if that person that you want them to basically impersonate or channel or whatever you want to call it, if that person has enough information on the internet, ChatGPT can answer. Now, ChatGPT has read every article, watched every video, read every book. You could never consume all. There's too much stuff, right? But because it's already done all that, I've done this stuff on stage 100 times in the last year, where someone from the audience will ask a question. Hey, I'm a chiropractor, and I'm trying to get more patients with the $49 spinal exam thing or whatever. What should I do to improve my digital marketing or my local SEO, or I rank number 3 on, whatever. And I'll answer the question. Well, first I'll type that question. I'll say, you're Dennis Yu. I've got a chiropractor from Glenview, Illinois. This is their question. How would you answer if you're Dennis Yu? And then I don't watch the answer. I just close that tab for a second. And then I say, okay, here's my answer. I think you should do this, this, and this. Now let's go see what ChatGPT has to say. Not only is it the same answer with the same kind of
That's crazy.
points, but it does it better than me.
Wow.
Because the AI remembers things like, oh yeah, and Dennis Yu also said this, and here's a few examples of other chiropractors that have applied this, and like, oh yeah, I remember that. I forgot that part. But the AI doesn't. So it actually can answer better than me.
I didn't know.
So this is going to put a lot of coaches and a lot of schools and a lot of
crazy.
Whatever these like training.
So what
consulting,
you're
a lot of
saying
business.
is if you ever wanted to ask somebody a question like Tony Robbins for whatever, it's like, what would Tony Robbins say to this question? It would answer it better than him.
Now you and I believe in mentorship.
Right.
You and I believe in connecting with the people who know how to do this stuff. Now, what if you don't have a connection to Tony Robbins?
Right.
Then now you can't.
That's crazy. I had no idea you could do that through ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That's a breakthrough.
Because where is ChatGPT getting all its information?
From the internet. From
So
everything.
is there of all the stuff Tony Robbins has ever written, all the YouTube videos, that stuff is available on the internet.
Yeah.
But you couldn't process all of it. And it could be, let's just say that Tony Robbins had this one speech from 10 years ago and it was on this YouTube and it was a 60-minute video, but it was only 2/3 of the way at minute 47 in that one random video from 10 years ago that had the piece of advice that you needed. Wow. How could you find it? Search Google for it?
It's going to take a long time.
But could you
find
search
it.
Google to find it for you?
Yeah. Well, and then you have to cycle through everything.
But then you'd have to watch
And you have to
everyone's
watch it
videos
and see
all
if it's,
that. But you ask the AI, hey, this is the
Dang.
specific question, specific situation I have. It'll go through all this stuff and find it for you.
Wow.
So it's like, so what it really has done is basically, I'm a search engine engineer.
Okay.
Right? I built the analytics of the search engine 20-some years ago, before there was a Google. A lot of the people
Dang.
on my team went to go to Google. But what happens is search built the foundation to allow us to categorize the knowledge. And the simple categorization is like, okay, you have a question. Here's 10 answers. You got to pick from these 10 blue answers. And so we were used to the last 20 years, like, okay, well, just if it's not the first one, I'll just and it was like pretty good. You'd look at the 10 answers, right? And sometimes you have to go look at the second set of 10 answers, right? But now it's, okay, the search engine does its thing and it pulls, the 10 best answers. But then it looks specifically at the question you're asking and it tries to create a singular comprehensive answer from the 10 answers. So you don't have to look at all 10 answers. So it's doing the search and then it's doing another level of analysis for you.
Wow.
Right?
That's,
Instead of just showing you, here's 10 articles or whatever that sort of answer your question. No, I'm going to directly answer your question by taking pieces from these 10 articles and videos and whatever, and here's your consolidated answer.
So I'm curious, if AI has that level of ability, do you still believe in paying somebody to answer a question for you?
Yes, because not all the information is categorized in such a way that AI can find you. So if you do a search on Dennis Yu, you'll see a full knowledge panel pop up, which is proof that I have trained Google to on my body of information and who I am and all that, I'm famous or whatever, right? If you ask ChatGPT, who is Dennis Yu? How would Dennis Yu answer this question? It'll give you a great answer because I've trained it with all this stuff. But if you take anyone else who is a plumbing HVAC company in Portland, Oregon, they don't really know much about that company. They don't know much about the founder. They don't know much about the technicians. Yeah, you can read the reviews off of Google or read the Yelp or whatever it is, but the information's not there. So if the information's not there, the AI can't answer it specifically. Your experiences, your network, the fact that you're putting a podcast together or you have all these people you've interviewed, that gives the AI, and when I say AI, I'm including Google and all of these things. It includes
just internet, generally.
Everything. Yeah, all of this TikTok, they're all part of this AI, Amazon, this one thing. You're feeding that information in so it can try to give you an answer based on it. So if I say, my buddy Ken Vandigen runs a pest control company in Portland, Oregon. Can you tell me his approach to handling a bug infestation for roses? Because in Portland they have roses. That's like a big thing they do up there, these rose gardens. What's his approach to taking care of aphids and these bugs that eat your roses? And if you ask the AI the question now, it'll say, well, I don't really have enough specifics on EcoCare pest control. But what I can tell you is that when you have aphids for your garden in Portland, here's generally what you do when you have an aphid infestation or something. So it's going to try to give you the best answer when it doesn't have the specifics.
Got it.
Now, Google, I'll just say one thing that's technical, is they changed their quality rater guidelines, like the whole thing, like how to determine what shows up in search, from EAT to EEAT. So EEAT, experience, expertise, authority, trust. So what they want is your actual experience, not your actual experience, like documented, your people, pictures, videos, proof that you've done the thing, not ChatGPT's answer on how do you get rid of aphids on your red roses, right? So you still need a human involved to help train the machine. And then secondly, I have a fitness coach. And is he telling me anything on how to do a bicep curl that I don't already know or I can't already get on the internet?
No.
But why am I paying?
You're paying for accountability.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're humans.
Yeah.
And, you make a New Year's resolution. What % of people's New Year's resolutions come through?
Very few.
Why?
No accountability.
Right.
Yeah.
So you still need people involved.
But it's changing the perspective, though. Because I think a lot of people look at, people what information can I get from them? But, to a degree, you're saying you could get the information you're looking for through AI, but what you can't get is accountability. So it's still worth investing into
and
a
the
coach
structure and someone who can look at it in a more personal point of view, where the AI, they tell you things that are wrong and they hallucinate and all that kind of stuff. So I speak at masterminds where people pay $50,000 to get into that room for the weekend. And what are they paying for? Is there information they can't get on the internet?
No.
Is there secrets being exchanged there?
Yeah, but you could Google them or AI them.
There's no secrets there.
Accountability and community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're connecting with other people. It raises your vibe. There's deals that are being done, right? I'm in the process of selling one of my companies for a couple $1 million.
All right,
but it's
go.
because I know this person who knows that person, and I'm just bringing those things together.
Yeah.
And these are people that I've met in high-end masterminds.
Wow. I like to talk about that because I think it's really important for even a lot of people who's watching this podcast, they may not be advanced in entrepreneurship. They may be barely getting started or finally starting to make some money, and they're being open to all this.
Right.
When I started to be open to all this 10 years ago, it was a lot to take in. It's oh, I didn't know this whole world existed. What would you say to somebody who's being open to this world and they're okay, this is interesting. What do I do now? What would you say to that person?
Man, I wish I knew this answer. I wish someone told me what I'm going to tell you 20 years ago.
Okay, I'm ready for this.
When you're open to everything and you explore everything, you end up doing nothing and you have no specialization, no focus. Think about the one thing that you do that creates the most value. So one product for one particular niche or one service. So I do SEO for pest control companies. Don't do everything for everybody, right? You got to focus down the whole thing with niching. Because if you think about something that you like to do and it creates value and you can do it repeatedly and you can document how you do it, you can scale the heck out of that thing, right?
So are you saying that they find masterminds that allow them to build that one thing that
No,
they're
but well,
doing?
before they even do that, you see, people are so like in 3 days, the Traffic and Conversion Summit is going to be here in Vegas, and when you go there, it is just overwhelming. The number of areas of expertise and the speakers and the community and all the vendors, and you'll walk away from there if you don't have a clear focus. You'll walk away from there, your mind full of like, wow, there's all these cool AI tools, and I didn't know you could do this. And then there's one person's story about how they made $100 million drop shipping. All this, like, that's great, but there's no structure against which you can apply that. So you have to, unfortunately, this is the hard part in entrepreneurship. You have to pick one thing you want to do first.
Okay.
You can always change your mind and you can always improve it, but you have to start with that one thing. My buddy Brennan Agranoff started a sock printing business, and he started putting friends' faces on socks.
That's
and he was
funny.
in Portland, and executives at Nike were friends of parents, like that kind of thing. And he was doing it kind of in his bedroom, and he would sell these socks at like $17 or $20, and he made a few $100s here and there. And then he said, okay, how do I take this further? And he did research about how to buy stuff in China and the printing, kind of like what you have. But he has some special technology that he's built, and he built it to multi-7 figures a year.
Wow.
And now he's created a whole company that actually allows people that want to do POD software to be able to manage all the logistics, because he found that there were problems in trying to integrate Shopify with fulfillment, with the printing, with all these other pieces, and he's done it at scale.
Wow.
Because he became so well known that he started doing the POD for all these influencers.
Wow.
Right? But it started from doing that one thing.
Yeah.
So he and I would fly in an airplane, and he looks like some kid. I mean, we'd hang out when he's like 16 or something. He looks like a kid. And, the lady in the seat next to us, because we fly Southwest, would say, "Oh, honey, what do you do?" And he would say, "Oh, I make socks." And he'd smile.
Yeah.
And little do they know, like,
Yeah, how
that's
big
like
that is.
that's
Yeah.
like in that one statement is like, you would not believe all the programming, all of the hiring. He has 500 virtual assistants.
Wow.
Running this thing here using our program on how do you hire VAs.
Wow.
Like he first came to me at a mastermind because of a mutual friend, and he said, I've been doing this thing all by myself. This kind of answers your previous question.
Yeah.
I've been doing this thing all by myself. I've been printing the socks by myself. I've been taking the orders. I've been handling customers. I've been, because what a customer will do is they'll submit a picture of their dog and their face, and then simple VA work to be able to manage that inside, Photoshop and whatever, and then transfer it to be printed. And then you have to cut the thing out, and you have to put it on the socks. Then you have to put it in the bag, write the little gift note, ship it out to who it is, update the system. They get the email saying your order's on the way. Like, there's all these things that have to happen. He was doing every single step along the way, right? Building the website, setting up the Shopify, processing the money, the bank accounts, all the things that have to happen with the business. You have to file taxes. There's all these things you have to do. He was doing all that by himself. And I said, you could have a VA do different parts of that, right? Like that whole thing where the pictures of the socks or the face of the dog or whatever, the team's mascot, like they're printing socks that are personalized, right? When that stuff comes in, if you have that documented, because you've done it enough times, if you just record a Loom or a Zoom of how you do it, or just like whatever, as you're doing it, whatever you do, just like record as you're doing it, you can then make that a repeatable process. And so he did. So then he hired a few VAs, and then he came back to me a few months later, and I said, "So Brennan, how's the whole thing? You hired some VAs, right?"
Yeah.
He smiled at me and said, "I have 500
In a few months.
I said, "What?
Well,
how'd you do that?"
Yeah.
I thought you hired like 1 or 2.
Yeah. So I'm curious. Okay. So before he hired a VA or went through how big of an operation was he running?
I don't know. He's doing a few $1,000s a month. Who knows?
A few thousand to then hiring 500 VAs? That's crazy.
Yeah, to doing millions. But it wasn't like he became a millionaire instantly.
Right.
It's taken him, what is he now, 21?
Yeah.
But he started when he was even younger, so he's been at this for 10 years.
Wow.
And he knows that business inside and out.
So his business went from very small,
doing one thing, just your face on a pair of socks.
Yeah, but doing everything himself, literally. He is the business.
But he started with that one thing.
Yeah.
And then once he did that thousands of times, like I think on his like Facebook, Instagram, his like quote is like, I bet you I have more socks than you.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's got containers full of like, I don't know how many, 100,000 socks per giant shipping container.
Yeah.
Like in the back of his facility. He has multiple facilities and a warehouse and this whole thing going on. But he then expanded, because that worked. He expanded to putting it on mitts, and I think he calls them lip mitts, on pillows, on T-shirts, on all sorts of, like canvas. He's got canvases now.
Wow.
Right? When COVID hit, we were together in Austin. We taught the last mastermind, full day, 8-hour workshop at Digital Marketer in Austin. And then the next day, COVID shut down the whole state and that whole thing. And at first, his business was in trouble because, you know, the moms and his factory and all that, you know, the 6 feet distance must shut down, like all that kind of stuff. But then he started printing masks with your face and your pet's face on them. So if you go around and you see people with their dog's face on the mask,
That's probably his.
Probably his company.
Wow.
And so that grew his company. It initially was a problem because COVID hurt all businesses initially, and then it became an opportunity, and then he started to scale it, and then he built software to be able to hire VAs, software to automate all the things that were done manually, software where these VAs used to use, I don't know, Illustrator, Photoshop, these different Adobe tools to process, but you had to download these files, and VAs have slow internet in the Philippines and all that, and he built the process so that they don't have to process those files anymore, because he built software that does that processing in the cloud. And then QA processes where it's detecting whether it's like nudity or like there's all these things that you can do to systematize this, to eliminate errors, to hire and fire people automatically. So I asked him, like, so how did you can't manually interview, you know, thousands of VAs and then hire them and fire them. I mean, that would be a full-time job, unto more than that. So how'd you do it? So and then he logged into the software that he built. He's also a great engineer too. He logged into the software that he built and showed me that he has these sample exercises that anyone who wants to work in his factory can come in and do. And if they can do that sample, then he's hired another VA that's just in charge of like looking over the whatever. And then they get led into this queue. So think of, you know, like Uber. I took an Uber to get here. Like it's matching drivers and riders.
Yeah.
But there's no human involved in saying like, you, Joseph, go over here and pick up this guy from the airport and drive him to the restaurant and do this, and it's going to be $17. Like there's no human doing that. So the system, the machine's doing that. So he built an Uber that manages all these sock jobs. As these jobs come in, they get assigned to these workers. And if the workers don't do a good enough job, they get kicked out of the system automatically.
Wow.
Like, you know, with Uber, if your rating drops below 4.5, then they kick you out of the system, right?
Wow.
I'm not sure. I don't think they like give you a call and say, hey, Joseph, you know, we need to have a call. Your like driver rating's gone down. No, I think they just kick you out of the system.
Wow.
Or maybe they send you a note telling you. So he just kicks them. I say, okay, so like when you kick them out of the system because they do bad work or they take too long or whatever it is, do you like send them a message? Do you like tell them, hey, sorry, your quality's not because you make too many mistakes? He's like, no, we just kick them out of the system.
Wow.
And last I checked, he was paying these folks a starting wage of $1.70 an hour.
That's
Our starting wage is $3 an hour.
Wow. Okay.
Which is $500 a month.
This is really like for everyone that's even listening to this. This is like very thought provoking in many ways because it's like, I don't want to because I'm young too. Like I don't want to like put his age down, but like if someone at his age could go from making a few $1,000s in sales to building did you say multi-million-dollar company? Is that right?
Yeah. Because
of VAs, do you encourage?
It's not just VAs. It's the process. It's the software. It's having the right strategy. Like all those things are in there. VAs and software and AI just multiplies what you already have.
Right. So the question, and I want to go back to my original question, but I want to ask this question now.
Okay.
Do you encourage more business owners to leverage AI and systems and virtual assistants to expand their business?
Yes, if you have something that is working well, solving one problem for one very niche target. If you have that, multiply it.
Okay.
AI, just like advertising, just like an amplifier from 100 watts for your guitar to a 1,000-watt amplifier. All that does is give you more out of the thing that's good. Bill Gates wrote a book called The Road Ahead, one of my favorite books. It's like 25 years ago. And he said technology is nothing more than an amplifier. So if your business sucks and you apply technology...
It's going to suck even more.
Yeah. So let's say your business is you sell $10 bills for $5. That's, you're losing money every time you sell one of those, right? And you're like, you know what I'm going to do? If I just scale this business of selling $10 bills for $5, I'm going to be successful, right? No, you're just going to increase your losses. So whatever you think of it like a photocopier, right? If you have this horrible thing and you photocopy it, you're just going to create more of this horrible thing. But if you have something that is really well tuned and it's working well, evidence not because you think it's good, but you have customers, clients. What is a product or service? People love it, and you consistently can make these customers happy. Then, yeah, time to scale it. But too many times, entrepreneurs get this whole laptop lifestyle, Lamborghinis by next month kind of thing, because they see all these get-rich-quick internet people that seem to have never failed. My life is nothing but failures. Once in a while, I win, right? But they think, you know what? I don't have to go through the process of refining the product because I can just have AI. I can just hire VAs. I can just go to white label outsourcing, delivery, manufacturing, drop ship, whatever, right? I don't have to actually go through the hard work. No, you have to do it yourself every step of the way. Like Brennan was making his freaking socks every step of the way so that he could then figure out, okay, now I understand it. Now when I order from China, from these socks, I know what it costs. Now I know how it's made. Now I know how the technology... He
crazy,
knows.
Man.
No one can bullshit him. All these people, like one of the masterminds he came to that I taught, I held it at GoDaddy's headquarters. There was someone, I'm not going to name him, but he tried to approach Brennan saying, because he was a digital marketing agency, he said, hey, Brennan, I can run your Facebook ads for you. And I can run TikTok ads, and I can do all this kind of stuff. And Brennan looked at this guy and said, no, I know more about running Facebook ads than you do because I've gone through Dennis's program. And we both went to the same mastermind where we went boom, boom, boom through the $1 a strategy. So what makes you think that you can do it better than me? Why would I pay you $10,000 a month when I can do it better than you? And so he spent millions of dollars on Facebook ads to be able to scale his business. Yeah. Where he did the ads himself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does he now have VAs doing that for him, or does he still
Facebook ads is the kind of thing where if you set it up properly, it'll manage itself, so you don't need VAs for that.
Okay. I'm definitely
Don't
curious.
let VAs touch your Facebook ads unless
Okay.
you're doing a templatized kind of campaign where it's like, okay, I'm doing it for a chain of smoothie restaurants. So I have a friend who owns like 70 smoothie chains.
Yeah.
Okay. He's the franchisor, so some he owns and some whatever. Like if you can build a campaign yourself that works well for selling smoothies in one city, then you could have a VA come in and basically duplicate that for all the other locations that you have your smoothie restaurant.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
But the whole, and I don't mean to demean VAs or anything like that, but if you're thinking that you can just tell a VA, just drive more sales and set up Facebook campaigns according to Dennis's $1 a strategy, you're probably in for a rude awakening. Why? You know why?
Why?
Because you have to have done it yourself first. Because in the process of doing that, you understand intimately the details of your business and there's all these little nuances that aren't captured in an SOP. Like, why do people buy? What are the phrases about? How are you different than these other people? What's the USP? How do people find out about you? What are the things they say afterwards that make them happy? What's the referral thing? How does it rank in SEO? There's all these things that you know that have nothing to do with the technical execution that a VA who's just following a checklist wouldn't understand.
Right.
So if you've done it, and then you just record a little Zoom as you're doing it, then a VA can do it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that I see entrepreneurs fail on, is they skip the whole part of making sure that you actually know how to do the thing and you've documented the thing. Then you have AI. Then you can have all the VAs. Then you can, but if you try to skip these things and you go straight to trying to scale.
So what you're saying is there's actually work needed to be successful.
Let's say I suck at playing the guitar.
Yeah.
Do you think that me switching from a 100-watt to a 1,000-watt amplifier will make me a better musician?
I have no idea what you just said, but I'm assuming no.
I can play louder, right?
Got it. Okay. So the watt is the loudness of the...
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I play on a little 10-watt amp, and you can barely hear it, but I switch to this gigantic Marshall stack, 2,000 watts for a whole stadium.
It doesn't change the sound, just makes it louder.
Yeah, but that'll now make me a successful musician, right?
No.
I'm going to go buy 100,000 fake followers for $50 off of the panel. Now I'm going to be successful, right?
No.
I can buy a blue check mark for $13 on Facebook.
Yeah.
Now I'm successful, right?
Nope.
No?
Yeah.
But this PR agency said that I can be on Forbes Inc. and Entrepreneur, guaranteed.
It's the sponsored list, right? Or the
Yeah, you can pay for all that.
Yeah.
That's fake, yeah.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of fakery.
Yeah. I think this is a really big eye opener, not just for like people that are getting into the stage, but there's people in the stage right now. I also think there's a lot of entrepreneurs who have made, say, money, however they made their money. And now they're like, okay, I think I want to do this personal branding thing, or I want to, amplify my marketing. And I want to just skip the process. Like you said, I'm just going to go hire someone to do it for me. And I had a conversation with a friend who's made millions of dollars in real estate. Traditionally, like he's like 50 plus years old. And he's like, man, I just pick up the phone. But he's like, I'm tired of picking up the phone. I want to do this marketing thing. He's like, Joe, I spent like $300,000 on an agency. And he has millions of followers, but with 2 likes per post. And he's like, what's happening here? I'm like, you have, like, I was like, when was the last time you actually just clicked your followers and saw who they were?
That actually hurts you.
Yeah. And he's like, never done it. He's never done. And when he did it, he's like, why are these people have 0 posts? I go, because those are bots, bro.
Bots, yeah. That's a shame.
Yeah. So he spent $300,000 to have millions of followers.
Yeah.
And the agency's like, it's going to take 2 years.
Yeah, they're just milking him.
They just milked him for 2 years.
Yeah. A friend of mine did the same thing where I told him, here's what you need to do to be able to grow your business. He's got a chain of IV therapy clinics all over the place. And he didn't want to do it. And he hired this other agency. And I met with that agency. And I said, let me tell you what's going to happen. They're going to buy you a bunch of fake followers with these bots. They're going to pay for fake media where you are on Forbes Inc. and Entrepreneur, but those are all sponsored articles which Google can see, so it's not going to help you with your SEO. You're going to have a blue check mark on all the different things you have there, but it's not going to drive more patients into your locations. And your franchisees, they're going to see nothing except vanity.
It's just
where
vanity.
Every time he has a post, there's 3,500 likes on it on Instagram. And then there's 10 likes or 10 comments, and the comments are all just like, way to go, very good. You can tell they're like bot comments. You click on the profiles, you can see they're not real.
Yeah.
And I told him, this will hurt you. This actually hurts you. In fact, if you wanted to screw over your competitors, do that to your competitors, because now you're polluting the algorithmic. No, and you can do the same thing on Google.
That's crazy.
It's called Google Bowling.
Dang.
Right?
Dang, that's crazy. You do that to your competitor.
If you know that buying trash links, because it used to work.
Yeah.
Buying trash links would help your SEO. Used to work. Now it doesn't. So then you would just buy a bunch of porn links to your top competitors. Their SEO would drop. They're like, oh, what happened? And I'm sure their SEO agency would say like, oh, well, Google's algorithm changed or something.
That's funny.
No, I can.
People do that to people?
See,
you've seen like that actually happen?
Oh, yeah. All the time. There's all kinds of... it's the internet, right?
Dang.
Yeah. I don't do anything like that.
Sure. But you've seen it.
I know how to spot it. I know how to fix it.
Wow. I'm curious, man. So about 2 weeks ago, I've only had the Instagram blue check mark because people were copying my profile and like using my...
You paid for it?
Well, I only paid for it, the $15 a month or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Because people were making profiles of me only using photos of my family. I'm like, wait, hold on. I don't want you impersonating me with my kids' pictures on Instagram. Like, I need to. So I got the verification when it came out, like not recently. So I had it. Okay. And then over time, I forgot why I got it. And then I'm like, I'm just gonna unsubscribe because I don't see value. I only got it to prevent this, and maybe like I'm cool. Like, so I unsubscribe. The night I unsubscribe, I wake up to an email from Instagram saying I'm permanently banned. And I click why. And it says I am impersonating somebody on my Instagram account. Mind you, my Instagram account, all the content is just my podcast.
I know. So the fakes are reporting you. Yeah.
And then I get 5 emails saying, I hijacked your account. Pay me to recover it.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting all of these DMs saying, I heard your account was hijacked.
Yeah.
If you pay me $2,000, I can recover it for you.
And the people who did it are the ones trying to get the money off of you to blackmail you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a ransom deal.
And apparently this happens all the time.
Oh, yeah. Super common.
Is there any way to like, what in your expertise, in my mind, I already made a decision to start new, but like, how could this be prevented if it could be prevented at all?
The short answer is you have to build your brand in advance of any of this nonsense happening. The best offense is a defense. The question you're asking is almost like, okay, when this happens, what do you do?
No, I'm asking like, how do you before? Because there's people like, man, I've seen friends of mine have like this happen over the years, and in my mind, I'm like, this will never happen to me.
So what you need to do is build and lock down your assets so you can never be taken hostage. The number one thing you do is you get your website name.
Okay.
JosephOrtega.com.
Yeah, which I have all that.
Okay, good. Okay. But in case your name is John Smith and there's another johnsmith.com already taken, then just get johnsmith.org, johnsmith.co, johnsmith.ai, johnsmith. It doesn't matter what the dot whatever is afterwards. Just make sure it's Joseph Ortega dot whatever it is after that. Okay.
Yeah.
Then what you do is you claim your Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, Pinterest, TikTok, like all of them, and have a whole list of them at blitzmetrics.com/ACL for access checklist. And it says, go through, and here's how you claim all of them. You might think like, but why would I want to list myself on Crunchbase? I'm not an investor in tech companies. Just do it. But I'm not on Reddit. I'm not there to I don't have time to be on Pinterest. I'm not some woman posting pictures of my crochet. Just do it, okay? Just claim. Just because you claim those profiles under Joseph Ortega doesn't mean you're committing to be a social media person on 50 different properties. You're doing this as insurance to prevent yourself from being held hostage so that if this thing happens, you have built this foundation and you have claimed all the things that are Joseph Ortega, tied them together, linked them back to the hub of the wheel, which is what we call the entity hub, the josephaortega.com, that website, that one URL. Then the proof of whether you've done this properly is if I do a Google search for Joseph Ortega, a knowledge panel pops up. You know what a knowledge panel is?
It's that little thing on Google, like on the side.
Like Google my name, you'll see.
So if I go to
all those colored boxes that pop up, and you Google Dennis space YU.
This.
Yeah, so all those colored boxes, you can see, you can scroll and all that. It shows like all these things about me, shows my social. If you scroll on further, it'll show like my Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, a little further down, and somewhere in there. Go up. There. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there. A little lower. There. You see there where it says like, oh, there's my
all
Facebook,
the socials.
all that. Yeah. See, and that's because I tied all those things together.
Wow.
Now here's the thing. So you see, I have a knowledge panel. You probably think, well, you got to be famous to have that, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
No.
What?
Yeah, you see.
Anyone could do this.
Almost anyone can do it.
What's the requirements?
Well, you have to be able to send a consistent message that when people search for Joseph Ortega, they're searching for you. I'm sure there's like how many Joseph Ortegas are there, right? I mean, John Smiths, okay? So if you send a clear signal, what we're doing is we're trying to train Google. We're not trying to fool Google, which is what SEO people do. We're not trying to do this social media nonsense, which doesn't fool Google. We're trying to say, here is Joseph Ortega claimed across all these properties. All of them link back to the website. There's all the podcasts, the guests you've had, and you've been on other people's podcasts, and you've spoken, written articles. All these things that tie into who is Joseph Ortega. If those things about your why and about your expertise and as an entrepreneur and the things you care about, if all of those are consistent. So if I look at your LinkedIn and it has a different headline than your Facebook, then Google's going to look at that and say like,
two different people.
I mean, they might link to the same URL, but it needs to say, like, what do you do as an entrepreneur? Back to the initial question. These entrepreneurs that are under $10 million. What's the one thing that you do really well for this particular, not for everyone on the planet, but you solve a particular problem for a particular niche in a particular way. We call that the XYZ method. I help X achieve Y via Z. I help these people achieve this specific result via this particular thing I have. So most entrepreneurs under $10 million a year can't do that because they're like, no, but I also do this and I also do that and I have
Yeah.
this product, I have that, and well, I want to do everything for everybody. And they have all these rationalizations where they do 15 different things, but until you're $10 million a year
Wow.
with one thing, don't move to number 2. No, but I could
Wow.
also serve these people. And the coaching I do and products I sell, they could also help. Yeah, it could, but now you're casting the net too wide. Do that one thing, focus it down. When that XYZ is super clear, you put it. So the first step is lay the foundations, claim all your stuff, website, all that, right? Second step is that stuff on who you are, that why. Make sure that's the layer of so there's the skeletal structure, then there's like the muscle and meat, the next layer.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that that's super clear. Then this third stage is you run dollar a day against it. So, I'm like semi-famous for this dollar a day strategy that I invented. So you spend $1 a day boosting those Facebook posts against that very clear message, that XYZ, example after example, proof.
Like
document your
indefinitely
knowledge.
$1 a day? Like,
Yeah, you let it run forever. Well, of the ones that win. You test it. You put $1 a day, 7 days, so you spend $7 per piece of content. And if it meets our 10% rule, meaning at least 10% of people like, share, comment, whatever, engage with it, watch the video to the end, whatever it is, then you're like, oh, okay, cool. I'll let it keep running, right? And then if it drives sales, put $1,000 a day, $100, whatever it is. But what's happening is when you drive that engagement, when you boost that YouTube video, when you boost that Twitter against that exact niche audience, not against the whole planet, but against that niche audience that you solve that particular problem with your one specific method or product, then Google can see that. And when Google can clearly see that when people are searching for Joseph Ortega, that most of the traffic is for you among the other Joseph Ortegas, because often people will do a search on their name, or they have the name of a porn star or someone who's like a athlete or a singer or something like that, and but I can't compete with so and so because so and so was an actor, and who has the same name. Yeah, but that actor died, 50 years ago. They're no longer. No, people aren't searching for that person. As like if your name is Cristiano Ronaldo and you have the same name as that guy, then okay, well that guy's getting way more traffic than you. But if someone else has the same name and they are not getting a lot of traffic, if you have more traffic and someone searches on that name, then Google's going to show your result, because Google just wants to show what's the most likely, consistent, triangulated result. So the dollar a day strategy is if you've laid the foundation and you have a consistent message, the meat on the bones, and then you make sure it's being seen, then Google's going to say, well, it seems like I can clearly see people who search for Joseph Ortega are these kinds of people. It's clearly this audience. He clearly has proof, triangulated all these other, the articles, videos, whatever, you chopped up, repurposed. Don't just put it on the podcast, share it on YouTube, share it in multiple places so Google can see, like, yes, this is a consistent message. They're going to show a knowledge panel.
So the knowledge panel isn't something that you create.
No.
It's something that Google creates.
Google's AI creates it.
That's crazy.
And people will charge you. They'll say,
That's what's insane.
$5,000 and I'll go to Google. This is a lie, okay? Hey, Joseph, if you pay me $5,000, I'm going to go to Google. I have friends at Google. I have inside connections.
Dude, I have a message from someone literally pitching me that this morning. I was considering it because I'm like, what happened to me on, getting my Instagram hacked? I'm like, I need to figure out how to prevent this.
Well, I'm going to sell you beachfront property in Utah.
A beachfront property in Utah.
Yeah. Ocean view from Utah.
There's no ocean view in Utah, dude.
Yeah, but I can still sell it to you if you don't know it.
Yeah. This is happening to so many people.
They're all getting scammed.
So you're telling me
it's a scam. If someone's selling you that, it's a scam. If someone uses Forbes Inc. entrepreneur in the same phrase, it's a scam. If someone talks about guaranteed whatever, guaranteed SEO or guaranteed whatever, it's a scam.
So this Google, what is it called again? Google
Knowledge panel?
Knowledge panel is something you cannot pay for.
No, you cannot. But there are people that will claim, if you pay me, I have the secret connections at Google, and I can build you one. It's a lie. I'm well connected at Google, and me and other people will tell you what you have to do is feed the AI, and then the AI will say like, "Oh, this is Joseph Ortega."
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
I'll give you an example.
That's crazy.
So I've lost a lot of weight.
Okay.
In the last year, I went from 223 pounds to
It's
165.
really impressive, by the way.
You see how fat I was? Pictures of fat Dennis on the internet. I'm ashamed of that. But imagine that, you and I, we want to lose weight, right? Because why not? We ate a lot during the holidays. I love to eat, right? We like KBB. And you step on the bathroom scale in the morning and you look at it after you do your cold plunge, right? And it says a number that you don't like. You look at that and you say, damn, I'm fat. I need to do something about this because my mom, And then you're like, then I come to you and I say, you know what, Joseph? I'm an expert bathroom scale optimizer. Okay? I know you stepped on the scale and it said you're 300 pounds, and you're fat. And you want to, get down to 200 pounds. And you're not 300, but I'm just making it up, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And you're like not happy about the scale.
Yeah.
But then I tell you, you know what? I'm an expert at the bathroom scale. I mean, the bathroom scale's got all kinds of like fancy machinery inside because it's now electronic and it does these other things. And, it's just very complicated. So if you just pay me $3,000 a month, I'll optimize that bathroom scale so that, within a month, 3 months, what is it that you said, 3 months or something like that? These other people say within 3 months, you step on the scale, it'll say 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh, you just got to pay me $3,000 a month. What would you say to that?
Well, I would be like, you're full of it, but most people.
No, but I'm an expert at
most people
bathroom scale optimization.
Yeah, most people believe it.
But why? But why is that bullshit?
Because you got to do the work. I mean, you got to.
Oh, imagine no, but I just pay an expert to do my SEO for me, right?
Yeah, but the craziest thing is if people were to think of it this way, they would be like, yeah, it's full of it. But so many people think of the internet like this, like mystical world that they don't know about, but it's really not that mystical. So you get
ripped off, right?
Yeah.
So you can't pay people to lose weight for you.
No, you can't.
Then can you pay people to do SEO for you?
I would think you could. I mean, I don't know this world as much, but
based on this analogy, do you think you can? No, you can't.
No.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
People would love to pay for that. People in Utah would love to have an oceanfront view.
Right.
But unfortunately, there's no such thing.
Yeah, or here in Vegas.
From a search engine engineer. So hopefully I have some credibility about this topic. All the other people that sell these services, you've probably seen some of my posts on Facebook.
Yeah, there's literally like somebody.
And these people want to argue with me, right? They're dead wrong. The scammers are the ones. And I'm writing these posts explaining why it's a scam. And they want to argue with me.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're exactly why I wrote this post.
It's crazy because somebody, like, I personally know them. Like, I've had dinner with them. I've met them. Like, they're really cool. But they did the post this morning saying if you want a Google Knowledge Panel, it will be like $5,000 one time. They'll guarantee it.
Well, look, you look at the Sam Bankman-Frieds or Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos.
Yeah.
Or what are the other like Ponzi schemes? Like people have been ripped off. They do this whole thing and eventually they get revealed that it was a scam, right?
Yeah.
How did they do it? Well, I went to dinner with so-and-so and they seemed like a nice person, so I bought into their thing. Because, I saw them hanging out with so-and-so, so they must be legit.
Yeah.
Isn't that how people do business? That's how these people do business.
I mean, that's how this person pitched me. He's like, hey,
they're all con men.
Dang.
You've heard of the term con man.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is it's like I would never think that – well, obviously now that you're saying you can't pay for a Google Knowledge Panel, I'm thinking like what more is there that you don't really have to pay for that people
Almost
are
everything
selling?
on the internet that promises something that's too good to be true is probably not true.
So the Google Knowledge Panel, obviously the verifications, the
I can tell you how all those scams work.
How does it work?
Yeah, we can spend all day.
Okay, so it's a long answer.
Pick any one and I'll explain how it works. But anyway, I think the basic idea is if it sounds like, hey, you just have to pay me and you don't have to do anything, it's probably
So then what's the the industry of PR then? Like if there are is PR even real?
So there's 2 or 3 components of PR.
Okay.
Of legit PR.
Okay.
I can tell you what fake PR is, but let's talk about real PR for a minute. So PR agencies can leverage real media contacts they actually have to get you on TV, to get you into a conference with a press pass, to, because of connections, real human connections they have.
Right.
The trouble is most of these PR agencies, because they don't have the connections and because they have to guarantee certain level of results, then they just resort to spam. So they spam media connections to try to get you, which actually hurts you because then it reveals you as a spammer, right? Because I get hit because I'm media with all these. They buy fake PR and pretend that it is earned media. They're like, I'll get you on Forbes and Entrepreneur. And then it's like Forbes Monaco through a contributor account who eventually gets banned, right? Technically, they can say it's on Forbes. It gets no traffic. It gets no SEO rankings. It's nothing. It's pure vanity. Wow. You have to run ads against it to try to pretend there's a lot of likes and shares and whatever because it's on Forbes. No, it's not real. So when I was on CNN live in front of millions of people talking about Cambridge Analytica, that was real earned media.
Mm.
Millions of people saw it because I guess today you could like create a deep fake to make it look like you were, doing whatever. But I was arguing with Mark Zuckerberg
Really?
on live TV in front of millions of people. You can't fake that. That's real. That's called earned media.
Yeah.
So, when you speak at a major conference, that's real. That's earned media. Now, can you hire a PR agency to help you get that? Yes, if they're connected in the industry, right? So let's say, for example, you're an author, speaker, coach, expert, whatever, and you hire a speaker bureau, which is one version of a PR agency. And the speaker bureau is connected with all these other conferences. And because they have these connections and you actually deserve to be featured because you've actually done something worthwhile, then, they can make those connections and try to, get you placed, kind of like what a headhunter would do. That's how, real PR is.
But what you're saying is all these other people...
These young adults that are doing digital PR are 99% fake.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the relationships.
Yeah.
They don't have the industry depth. Because it's all based on good old-fashioned relationships.
Mm. And that's the truth. I think that's a hard pill to swallow, especially in this, generation. And I'm not saying the young generation. I'm just speaking of the entrepreneur, I want things to happen quick.
Yeah.
And then
the bropreneurs and
there's I think there's real wealthy people who just want things to happen quick. So then they buy into how can I think that there's this mentality that you can blow up overnight.
Yeah.
You just need to find the right person to pay for. Is that true?
Yeah, but how does the fat man getting the shoe shine? So I have some super wealthy friends that will just pay $100,000 to so and so.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna get a #1 best-selling New York Times book. They're going to get featured in these other places. They're going to get the 1 million followers on Instagram. They're going to, get a Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Those are all vanity.
Yeah.
They're all fake.
Yeah.
They're all scams.
So, okay, let's kind of not flip the script, but take it from a different perspective. If somebody were to want to do this right and say, okay, I hear what you're saying, Dennis, about vanity. I don't want vanity. What's the right approach to
Very
this?
easy. So remember we talked about, claim the infrastructure of all your things, put content out there, clearly showcasing that you deliver a result for a certain kind of customer via particular technique, showcasing your expertise, right? Then, run ads against it to amplify it so you get the knowledge panel. Well, that naturally preassumes that if you solve this particular problem for this particular type of customer in this particular way, then who are the other people that are respected by the kinds of customers that you serve? So I have one agency that serves plumbing companies. So who do all the plumbers respect? Roger Wakefield as the #1 plumber. He's what I call a lighthouse. So if you follow this XYZ model, you serve this kind of customer, who is the person that is most respected in that industry? Then you get on their podcast. You interview them on your podcast. You meet them at a conference, take a picture with them. You do whatever to build a relationship. Send them a gift during their birthday. I think whatever. Or take care of their wife. You can't get to Grant Cardone, then do something with the link. There's all these different ways to try to build a connection. But it assumes that you have this XYZ, this foundational thing in place. So build the connections here. Then if you, think about the industry associations. So if you're really niched down, what are the conferences they go to? What are the trade publications? Maybe, there's certain suppliers or manufacturers that people in that industry use. Build connections with those people. And then do the same thing. Connect with them on social media, co-create content.
Yeah.
Fly them to Vegas to get them in your podcast studio, whatever it is, to build these kinds of connections. And when you do that, that creates co-created content that sits on top of the framework that we just talked about. Now, if you hire some PR agency, social media expert, SEO, digital marketing, so whatever you want to call somebody who claims to be an expert somehow, and they don't have connections in your industry, they don't know these certain kinds of people. They don't have the particular expertise you have that would impress these lighthouses in the industry. They don't have the know-how of how you deliver your product and service because they didn't write the SOPs. They've never done it, but they claim to know about Google and the Facebook algorithm and whatever. If they don't have the connections here, can they do the work? Can they do legitimate PR or digital or whatever for you?
No.
And there you have it. So if even if you don't have the $50,000 to pay somebody who supposedly is an expert, even if they're legit, whatever you want to call it, you still have to do the thing that I'm telling you about. Because if you've built some kind of success, then you have a happy customer that you can interview on your podcast.
Yeah.
And there's ways to do that. Oh no, I work with healthcare companies. They have all the like regulations. Like no, there's ways around all that without being sneaky because you elevate them. You're not getting testimonials. You are building connections in an industry. If you really care about the particular craft that you do, then you know what those industry groups are. Or there's a mastermind group. Maybe you have to pay to enter some of these groups. But you interview those other people. You interview the leader of that group. Sometimes it's okay to pay $1,000 to join a group if that gives you access to these other people and you can interview the leader of the group on your podcast. Oh, I don't have a podcast and I can't pay $10,000 to hire a podcast agency and buy all the fancy cameras and have another Joey who can do all the video editing and all that. And I can't do all that. I'm not good on camera and I'm fat and I don't like how I sound and I live in Nebraska somewhere. Like, yeah, you can use Zoom. You can interview people on Zoom through your shitty little laptop, which is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then you can use Descript or you can pay someone on Fiverr or whatever to edit that for $100 a month. And it's good enough. You're not freaking Joe Rogan.
Right.
Right? So the stuff I'm saying where you leverage the connections you have, co-create content that then gets pushed. We're creating co-created. There's more power in co-created content than me just monologuing, giving you my opinion about something.
Right.
Why?
Well, in my opinion, there's community being built here. It's interactive, it's entertaining, and it's informative.
And it also creates trust in multiple directions.
Yeah.
Because it's relevant to your audience and my audience. If you're creating content just by yourself, it's only relevant to your audience, and it's only tapping into the knowledge base that you have.
Right.
If I'm creating content, I'm limited about what I can talk about in my experience. I'll run out of things to talk about.
Yeah.
But spending time with you, I have questions, and I have new things I want to talk about. I have questions I want to ask you, and you have questions you want to ask me. And that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because when you have two people who have expertise in different areas, that creates all kinds of cool little connections.
So what you're saying is, obviously, the road to doing this right is a long road, and it's a road that requires work, and it's a road that requires, I think, the right vehicle.
Any kind of entrepreneurship, you can say that's true.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that this process that we've laid out here is hard to do or necessarily takes a long time.
Yeah. So obviously you said like the Zoom route, and that's simple. I mean, people probably already have everything they need, and I think maybe they're overthinking it.
You can get the nice camera and microphone and all that later, but don't let that stop you. Oh, but I don't have all the time. I interview people on Zoom all the time. There's people, I had a question about local service ads, some like weird thing about, budgeting and whatever. And I could try to go to the internet and figure out the answer.
Yeah.
But instead, I called up my buddy Ben Fisher. And I said, hey, Ben, I have something selfish to ask. I have all these questions about LSA because I know you're the guy. There's only 3 diamond experts in the whole universe on this thing, and he's one of the 3. So I want to invite you on my podcast, and I want to ask you all these questions, right? And then he's like, yeah, sure, Dennis, anytime. I love being on your podcast because every time I do, then more people hire me and this kind of thing. And so I was selfishly using my podcast to ask all these questions that I had. Now, I could never hire this guy. All these people that I get to talk to, I could never hire them, right? I spent time with Jake Paul. We made 300 videos. How much money would you have to pay Jake Paul to
A lot
agree?
of money.
Yeah, but I didn't pay him anything.
Wow.
But instead, we're co-creating content together,
Yeah.
right? So if there's other people that have the expertise that you need, you can invite them to be on your podcast. But obviously, don't do it just to suck the knowledge out of them, to create value for them. You have to honor them by editing the content and putting it out there and making sure it's being seen by the right audience. But the way you guarantee that it works is when I create content with Jake Paul, and I chop it up and edit it and do all that. And have VAs do that whole thing. We have a whole checklist on how to do that, obviously. Then who am I going to target to see that content?
That person's audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's already built in. So
Yeah.
of course it's going to work well. So One of my friends, his name is Caleb Williams, and he is probably the best known life insurance salesperson for like overfunded whole life, infinity banking. There's all these different names for this kind of thing, right? He's like the best known guy. He has his own conference and all that. And he came to me and he said, Dennis, there's a lot of financial advisors that follow me. I'm the keynote speaker for NAFA, which is the big organization, the largest, like if you're doing this, you're certified in this organization. National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, that whole thing. So I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to. So he and I sat down and we taught how to use $1 a day for financial advisors. If you're selling life insurance and whatever, how do you build your brand? How do you, like all the stuff we talked about, but with the financial, it's the same thing, but for a financial services person, right? Slightly different angle, but it's like 99% the same thing. And then I took his face, his video, went to Twitter, for example, and I targeted his audience. I targeted anyone who's a member of NAFA in Arizona, a member of NAFA in California, a member of NAFA in all the other states. And I had a 40% click-through rate.
Wow.
Why?
Because they already know who he is.
They know who he is.
Yeah.
So they're scrolling through Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and they see a picture of Caleb, and it says, are you a financial advisor and your marketing sucks?
Yeah.
I'm clicking on that.
Yeah.
And they go to the landing page, and then they see a video of him and I together, and it says, hey guys, Caleb Williams here, and I just wanted to tell you that my good friend Dennis Yu, I've known him for many, many years, and he actually knew me when I was a nobody. And the way I grew my business was I used his $1 a day strategy. And it's really simple, and here's how it is. And that's why I've asked him to teach this free course for you on how you can do the same thing. Just put your email into the box below.
Yeah, it converted like crazy for you.
And is it because I'm a good marketer? Is it because I had a really good landing page? Was it because my ad copy was really compelling?
No. It's because you used something
familiar. I leveraged someone else's credibility.
Dang.
And so the whole thing that we're talking about here that wraps up this whole conversation full circle is if you're really clear on this X, Y, and Z, I help these people achieve this kind of result via this particular technique. Well, I've helped this one guy, Caleb Williams, achieve success. And he's what we call a lighthouse, well known in the industry of financial advisors. I've done it for Roger Wakefield. He's a lighthouse among all the plumbing HVAC companies. I've done it and I know the lighthouses in all these other areas. And we've done this thing repeatedly using the $1 a day strategy. So then, how do I do marketing? I interview these people, or they interview me on a podcast, and we put it out there, and we target their audience.
Wow.
Tom Ferry, who's the lighthouse in real estate.
Yeah.
We taught a master class together. Do a search, Dennis Yu, Tom Ferry, and you'll see this whole master class, and you'll see like on YouTube or all these other places, and the feedback's amazing. They say this is the best training I've ever had, blah, blah, blah. I'd watch it 3 times. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments because it's Tom Ferry's audience.
Yeah.
Who am I? I've never sold a house.
Yeah.
I don't know shit about real estate, right? But then I'll take the master class that we've taught on YouTube, on whatever it is, I put it onto a blog, and then who do I target?
His audience.
And how does it perform?
Really well.
Why?
Because it's his audience.
Yeah, and do I have to pretend that I have any kind of expertise about anything? No, because they already know it's freaking Tom Ferry. And they can see Tom and I are hanging out and drinking coffee together and talking about stuff,
That's
right?
genius. And it's genius. It's crazy because it's not like rocket science what you're sharing. It's like common sense that people probably already know.
Okay, so what I'm sharing with you, this technique of leveraging a lighthouse and using digital as an amplifier.
Yeah.
Is that SEO? Is it PR? Is it social media? Is it ads? What is it?
It's common sense, honestly.
And so that's what we teach.
That's so.
And did you have to pay? Was it a magic secret that you had to pay $3,000 for me to tell you the secret? No, I told you the secret just now.
Yeah.
But people don't do anything about it. That's the problem.
Because there's work to do.
We're telling you the secret, and you don't do anything about it. It's not like there's the issue is not the secret.
Yeah.
The issue is you're not implementing.
I think the issue is people don't want to implement. People are like they know that.
Then pay the guy to lose weight for you. Pay the guy to get you a knowledge panel. Pay the guy to get you 100,000 followers.
Dang.
But the guy doesn't leverage your X, Y, or Z. It doesn't tie to your business. Unless that person you're hiring is an expert who's senior to you in your industry.
Yeah.
It's probably not legit. Sorry.
Dang.
Right? You see why? You see why you can't argue this.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like,
oh, but I'm an expert at SEO, and there's all these magic secrets that you don't understand. It's really complicated.
You just like debunked this whole thing.
I
Like,
turned the light on in a dark room. How do you argue with any part of this?
you can't.
You can't.
Dang.
And then all these people you'll see, all the fakers will try to attack me.
I'm getting a lot of these comments, man.
Go ahead and come at me, bro. I've never lost. You
can't
cannot
lose.
argue
You
with the
can't lose.
logic.
Yeah,
I'm
you
just
can't.
explaining gravity. I didn't invent gravity. I'm just
Yeah.
explaining what gravity is. If you don't believe in gravity, you go jump off the building and see what happens.
That's probably what's going to happen.
I'm not going to try to
careers,
convince you
honestly.
that gravity exists. I'm just
Yeah.
telling you these, like, the framework items I mentioned. I didn't invent them. I'm just telling you this
Yeah.
is true.
No, 100%. And the reality is, like, we've seen it amongst other people leverage expertise. Like,
Yeah.
if you interview a Grant Cardone, you're going to tap into his audience. If
Yeah.
you interview Tom Ferry,
Yeah.
that you never sold a property.
No.
Now all these
I'm never
real-
going to pretend.
Yeah. And all these
fake it
real,
till you make it.
Yeah.
No. Leverage the actual. Make sure you're co-creating content with the people who have actually done the thing, and then when Google sees it, because you put it out there on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all these, Google then associates you with these other people. You know how, like, you've heard the thing, you're the average of the 5 people you spend most time
Sure.
with.
Yeah.
Don't you think the same thing applies with the way Google is determining search results, or the way Facebook or TikTok's determining, like, what kind of content to show the
Are
audience?
you saying that Google pulls like all the social media content co-creating and it populates like, for example, let's just say
You saw that when you Googled me, didn't you see all those social media things pop up there?
yeah.
You have the answer.
Dang.
It's
that's
right in your
crazy.
face. You saw it right
Yeah,
there.
no, you're right.
Your social media impacts your Google results.
So here's a question. So let's just say I go and I interview like 5 big names.
Uh-huh.
Or let's just say, like, I did an interview with Eric Thomas. He's
Okay.
pretty big.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
If someone were to search Eric Thomas,
Mhm.
would my interview pop up in there?
It could.
It could, but if you promoted it or whatever, like,
There's all kinds of ways to do that, yeah.
Okay.
But there's a lot of other interviews, so you'd have to somehow get past, get to the top past all those other interviews.
Okay. What's like the way to do it? It's just like frequency of how much times it's posted, or
No, so when you interview Eric Thomas,
Mhm.
or you spent time with Grant Cardone or someone else, there's an intersection between your values, your XYZ, and his XYZ, is the hip-hop preacher or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So what is that intersection? So if you target that intersection, your co-created content's going to show up. It's not that you want to rank on just all Eric Thomases, because there's a bunch of people that follow Eric Thomas for things that don't intersect with what you do.
sure.
You
Yeah.
want to reach people that they value Eric Thomas, but they don't know who you are.
Mm.
But there's like the Venn diagram. So there's an overlap with Eric Thomas's audience and yours in terms of belief.
Mm.
Now his audience is bigger than Joseph Ortega, but where you share commonalities in belief, those people should hear about you. So when you Spotify or Netflix or whatever, people who watch this movie also, if you bought this product on Amazon, you'd
Yeah.
also you understand that that's called a collaborative filter, it's a recommendation algorithm. That's what the social media algorithms do. So what are the things when you interviewed Eric Thomas that really would resonate with people in his audience, but people who don't know about you yet? That's who we want to target. Because that will give us the 10% engagement. Remember I mentioned dollar a days, put stuff out there and test it? And the high engagement rate is not because you're really clever at copywriting. It's because the relevancy is super high. So what are the topics that you care about that intersect with the topics that he cares about? And then when it's like, yeah, that's the issue I care about. I believe in that one, that Eric Thomas believes in this thing, and you and the intersection, you and he share this certain thing, then that's when you're going to get 20%, 30% engagement.
Wow.
But you won't know. You can guess. But if you take, you spent like an hour with him,
Yeah.
right? And then usually in a 1 hour podcast, you'll get 6 to 7 little 1 minute snippets. Sometimes you get 10, sometimes you get 3, but usually you get 6 to 7. That's kind of like what happens. Okay, you put those out there. Your video editor or whoever can edit, or sometimes you don't have to edit at all. You put it out there on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever it is. Choose your favorite channel. $7 on each of them, which is $1 a day for a week. And you might show me the list, like, hey Dennis, here's like 7 or 8 of them. Which of them do you think will do the best? And I'll say like, you know what? I think number 3 will do the best. And then I ask you, what do you think? You're like, I think number 6 will do the best. And we're both wrong, because then a week later we look at the data. You know what? Number 4 is the one that actually did the best. And then in hindsight, hindsight's 2020. We'll say, yeah, well, it was better because, he said this one thing, or because he moved in a certain way, or because, in hindsight, everyone's a genius. But you and I would never have been able to tell. That's why we put it out there. Like, here's the things that we think probably would resonate with the audiences. I'm not saying just randomly put spaghetti on the wall. I'm saying do some thought on what you think would be good.
That makes sense.
Then from there, once you have that small group, then let the data tell you what the winner was. And then that gives you some kind of learning on, well, that one thing that he said, I don't know, whatever it is, let's just say, then let's put $100.
That's my next question I was going to ask. Do you ever scale that dollar a day?
Yeah, and then retarget. Say people who watch this one thing, then here's the next thing. Or then you understand how remarketing works, and you follow them around all over the internet. So if you set up Tag Manager on your site properly, Google Tag Manager is like the pixel that manages all the pixels. Then you've got the Facebook pixel, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the Google pixel, all the pixels tied together. So then if people engage with the video or they liked it, they clearly found it useful to watch all the way through. They're interested. So what's the next thing that might also be interested? Now you're making a recommendation, but you're using the ad system as a delivery mechanism, not for advertising to buy my thing, but as social postage is what I call it, to show them the next thing.
That's good.
And then once people have consumed 4 or 5 things, you've built kind of this relationship with them, and then you hit them with the ad on sign up for this thing, or have a webinar, or buy the product, and then they feel like, I know who Joseph Ortega is.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's just the same thing you do when you build relationships, right?
Yeah.
You would never try, unless you're like a pickup artist, you would never try to, ask the girl the first time you meet her to marry her.
No.
You would never you meet some stranger, you go to a party. Hey, what's your name? What do you do? Oh, my name is Joseph. Hey, I have this offer. Buy this thing right now.
Yeah, no.
You would never do that.
You never do
but
that.
instead, you build the relationship,
Right.
and then when it feels right, then you're like, hey, you know what? Here's one thing.
Yeah, so that's what you should do with the ad strategy.
So the same thing that works in person, where you're building up touches, building up trust, showing that you're friends with the same sort of people, and then it's just natural that you're in problem-solving mode, and you show that you care. You built some kind of rapport because you went to the same high school. You know what I mean. You build rapport, and then they ask you a question like, I think this might be a good recommendation for you, and they feel like it's a recommendation from a friend, right?
Yeah.
If that's what works in the real world, why wouldn't the same thing be true in digital?
It does, man.
Why is digital this other thing where somehow if you're a loser in real life, how come you can be cool on the internet? And it doesn't happen like that.
It's nothing new. What you're saying isn't some.
It's nothing to do with the internet.
It's just human psychology.
But people on the internet, because they can try to confuse it and make it seem all complicated, they think that you can bypass the rules of humanity because it's the internet.
Dang, that's a bar. That is a bar. You can't bypass the rules of humanity just because it's the internet.
You know why? It's because people are still humans.
Dang.
People are still people. People still make decisions in this gray piece of machinery that weighs 3 pounds, right?
It's mind blowing to hear this, because so many people are like, they would never think like this
because they're so into the secret or this other thing. I'm just I'm telling you something that's so obvious,
right?
But we've been confused by all these people trying to sell us these scams to have us suspend our common sense.
Dang, suspend. Dang, that's another bar. People are and people want their common sense suspended.
People want to lose weight. They want to lose 50 pounds in 1 week.
With this little tiny cookie that's vegan, and it's just common sense. People want to suspend their common sense because they want the easy way, the fast way, the quick way.
What are all the promises that are nonsense? You and I could spend a whole hour talking about all the nonsense promises, right?
Yeah.
And they're not real.
Yeah.
The pill that does that one thing.
But people
of course,
still buy
it doesn't
it, though.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fall victim to that. I'm gonna tell you, it's funny. So, I can't grow a beard, and I've been trying, and I bought all the little things on TikTok. Grow a beard in 30 days. I'm like, yo, I can't do it. And my wife made me throw everything away this morning. She's like, you've been trying for too long. I'm like, damn it.
But she's right.
She's right. I'm like, you're right.
But why did you keep buying it, even though you're a smart person?
I wanted to believe that there's a secret sauce out there to grow a beard.
And you know what? For $30 or $50,
right?
What's the risk, right? Try another one.
Yeah.
And so that's what's happening in the world of marketing. People will continue to.
Yeah.
They keep buying this grow beard stuff.
Yeah.
Except putting their whole business on, it's like a freaking roulette wheel.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
Because you're on this, why not?
Yeah. But if it's going to cost you your business,
Yeah.
if it's your money or your life,
Yeah.
I'm not going to gamble there.
Man.
Sure, I'll gamble in Las Vegas. I'll
Sure.
play whatever games or whatever. But if it's a critical, life-threatening thing, I'm not going to gamble.
You definitely not just shine the light here, man, but you gave some really great tactical things that people could implement. And
It's not theoretical, and you don't have to be. So people will come when I spill basic knowledge like this. I've done it enough times to Groundhog Day. People will say, "Yeah, but I'm not like super well connected like you." You don't have to be. I don't have this gigantic team in multiple companies. It's just me. You don't have to be. You can use Zoom, right? I don't have a lot of money, and I can't invest in building these huge teams and doing all the stuff that you do. You don't have to. If you have a freaking internet connection and you can do one thing decently well repeatedly, like at least 4 or 5 times for a particular customer that will say good things about you, that's all you need. That's the one thing you need. Happy customer that you've done it multiple times, and then like an internet connection.
Yeah.
That's it. Because people will criticize, oh, Dennis can talk about this because he knows all these celebrities. And he already made his money 20 years ago and all that. Yeah, I just do it at a larger scale because I am a practitioner of what I preach. So if you Google me, and you'll see all these big examples, like, oh, Dennis spent $10 million on Starbucks or doing this one thing, or I can't do that. I don't have that kind of money and whatever. You don't need to. I do this. The concepts that we're talking about, Joseph, I live and breathe these every day in the smallest of examples. You might look at these big examples and say, oh, I'm not ready to do something big like that. You know what? You have a customer or a client that ordered from you, or you talk to them on the phone, or you're on a Zoom. Spend 1 minute asking them, hey, what's it? I just want to ask you a question about who you are. I don't know why you do what you do. I just want to elevate. I just want to say thank you to you, right? Or I want to ask you, like, hey, what feedback do you have for me? What do what would you tell other people about what it's like working with me? Right? Just like little things like that. Can you not collect things like that?
Yeah.
Can you not build a personal brand website? Oh, but I can't hire a $10,000 website designer. Can you hire someone on Fiverr for $200 to use the template that we've already built? There's absolutely zero excuse if you're an entrepreneur. Oh, but I'm busy this one job and it's my side. Yeah, you can do it. There's no excuse because all the frameworks and templates I've published on the internet for free.
Wow.
Because I want there to be no excuse.
Man, and this goes back to my first question. What's your why? And this kind of
I want to drain the swamp.
Dang.
I want to eliminate the idiots. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
These people should not be in business.
Yeah.
And I cringe every time. I get this phone call multiple times a day from another business. I spent $50,000 with this other agency. I'm like, yeah. I know what's going on. I know what happened. I'm happy to sit here and listen to you tell me what happened to your business, and now all these bad things have happened and your sales have gone down. Like, I know. A friend of mine's a personal injury attorney. He paid $70,000 a month to this guy to do SEO, and it ended up being a scam.
Wow.
And I determined it in 2 minutes.
$70,000 a month.
Yeah, I know. But lawyers that do billboards and Super Bowl ads, they can do that.
Yeah.
They can, not that they none of them want to waste that kind of money, but
Yeah.
they can pay it.
Yeah.
So that's why these SEO, PR, social media companies will charge that. They think like, how much money does this guy have? Oh, he's a billboard attorney. He's spending millions. I can charge him $1 million a year.
Yeah. Wow. You've definitely shared so much information here that everybody needs to hear this. Whether you're starting off or you're not, like, this is really helpful.
The fundamentals are true no matter what stage your business is.
Yeah, that's
So then we got to
exactly
take
it.
this, and then we got to turn it into an article, chop it up, put it on YouTube and these other places, and let's run $1 a day against some of the snippets and see, of all the things we talked about, what do you think is the thing that's going to resonate the most?
You know what's also, I just want to share it too, man. Like, this, I feel like this was really meant to happen because I'm kind of in this shift in my own business. And when you share the story of your, was it client or friend or the gentleman with the sock business?
Yeah, Brennan Agronoff.
Yeah.
You can Google him.
I'm in a transition where we've done like print on demand for e-com brands and like we would like design for them and like print them. And I'm in this transition where like we're now launching a website called Collab and Create, and we're doing exclusive collabs with certain influencers because the reason why I built this business, is I was tired of getting, I don't want to cuss, but like effed over by print-on-demand websites that put out crappy products that made my customers of my clothing brand want to refund, or they can be retained, and they comment on my ads.
Yeah.
I ordered this hat, but when it came in, it was not the hat I ordered.
Right.
I was so frustrated of Printful and all these websites that I said, I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah.
And that's why this was created.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at like the space and like, I want to do this for these influencers who are having crappy experiences with Printful and these other companies.
Yeah.
And I want to go in that space. And I just want to say, man, I'm inspired. And I feel like everything is aligned here because what you're sharing was like quests I've been trying to figure out. And I've learned.
It applies directly to your POD.
1,000. This whole conversation was like.
But every entrepreneur is going to feel the same way. They're going to say, like, I listened to the podcast of you two, and I felt like you were talking to me.
Yeah.
Because it was the same problem that I was dealing with.
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. Yeah. You know why? It's because these are fundamentals.
That's crazy. The answers are in the fundamentals.
It's literally like people want some like super complex, expert, deep insight. You know that the TV show House?
Yeah.
Where like the guy like tries to figure out and then eventually figures out the reason why the patient's dying because they stepped on a nail that had poisoning that also caused this one thing. Like there's some like that's what people want. They want to have this like complex answer.
To
and
simple,
they get disappointed when it's like, bro, I looked at your stuff. It's the same basic stuff that everyone else falls down on. It's like literally this
they don't want to
simple.
hear that.
I'd rather I actually prefer, you know, if I go to the doctor, I'd love to have them say, oh, you know what, the issue is like it was because you had Mexican food and it was too spicy, versus like you need to have heart surgery. Like, oh, thank goodness it was heartburn, not a heart attack. Like I would, because then if they tell me it's a simple answer, then it's like, oh, thank goodness. I prefer that, right? Because then I know we can take care of it. But I think it's like some people to go to the doctor, and if the doctor says, actually, you're fine, then you look like a wussy.
Yeah. Yeah, they want this complicated.
Oh, actually, you were having a big heart attack. We have to do this big surgery. Okay, cool. That way, when I went to the doctor, you know, because if you go to the doctor and they say, actually, you're just fine, you look like a total weenie, right?
Yeah. That's funny. But that's how people treat their business.
Yeah, I don't want there to be this dramatic emergency.
Yeah.
I want there to be a couple simple things. But the trouble is people will also play into this get-rich-quick thing, thinking, I can pay this expert a lot of money, and they're going to quickly fix it. Well, that's not it either.
Wow. Wow.
Use your common sense. If it sounds too good to be true.
It's probably going to be the title of this podcast, actually.
Yeah.
This is really good, man. This is really good because we're in this era where common sense is becoming like obsolete just because of like we see these people becoming mega successful on the internet and they talk about like they got, you know, they did all this stuff and you're like, man, I don't know if I could do all that stuff. Let me just do the shortcut. Yeah. You can't do the shortcut.
Yeah. Social media creates this false reality.
Yeah.
Because you never see these people fail, do you? But they're always trying to sell you something. So I don't believe. I'm not saying I don't believe people can make a lot of money.
Sure.
I have a lot of friends who are you and I, we have friends that are very successful.
Yeah.
But I distrust people who don't share their wounds and scars.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good, but you've put in my mind a new perspective that how many services out there are not really truthful. Like, I'm still having a hard time believing that you can't pay for a Google panel. I believed this morning that you could pay for a Google panel.
And there's enough people that will fall for that scam. Because why not, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good. You want to believe it.
Yeah.
You know, con man, you know what con is short for?
No.
Confidence.
Confidence.
And how do they give you confidence? They tie into the thing that they know you want to believe, that you want to believe you can grow the beard. You want to believe that, you know, there's this magic thing.
Yeah.
And also, they see that you see that they're friends with so-and-so, so that's just trying to create more confidence.
Wow.
But it's all a con.
Wow.
Instead of, the antidote is show me exactly how you do it step by step. Oh, you have a thing where you can build a knowledge panel for me? Okay, cool. Show me step by step exactly how you do it. So if there's anything secretive, that's a sign something's not right.
Okay. So the things that people should look for if they want a Google Knowledge Panel, they don't really know how to do it, is
Literally Google Dennis Yu Knowledge Panel, and there's a whole checklist that shows
Dude's
exactly what you
gangsta.
need to do.
Dude's gangsta, man. Okay.
I practice what I preach.
Dang.
If you're an expert selling a service or product, whatever, you should publish exactly how it is. If there's a minute where there's a secret or something, oh, it's because I have to pay this guy at Instagram.
So what you're
There's
saying
something dirty.
is, let's just say for those who are listening, they are an expert at something, and they don't want to be in this category of like what you're sharing.
Publish your expertise. There is no
Yeah.
secret. Oh, but if I share my secret, no one's going to hire me. No, actually, the people you want who are going to pay you the
gonna
top
hire
dollar,
you,
they
yeah.
appreciate the fact that there's complexity that they don't want to have to touch.
Wow.
They're not paying for knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge is free. Implementation is very expensive.
That's a bar. I think that's the best thing I've heard in the series of this podcast. Knowledge is free. Implementation is very expensive.
Your time, you can't get that back. That's limited.
Yeah.
You can publish a podcast or YouTubes or articles on the internet, and anyone can consume it. And that's how you give back.
Yeah.
If they want to do it themselves, they don't have to hire you. They have a
Yeah.
choice. They don't have to get it. And that helps you because you don't have to get on a call with everybody and like listen to them and all that. And where, they ask you, how do you do your thing? Or no, I've already published all of it. It's all there.
Yeah.
So if I get with anyone on the phone, they're already a customer.
Wow. That's really okay. I love everything you're sharing, but I kind of like want to ask a question I've always wanted to ask someone of your caliber.
I'm just a dude. I don't know what caliber.
Okay. I've always wanted to ask this question. Never really got a pretty solid answer. And the question is this. How do you manage your, I guess, like, I don't want to say health, but like, because you travel so much.
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage that? Like, what does that actually, is it really as chaotic as it seems like? Or like,
No, you're seeing bits and pieces
Okay.
of content that's been repurposed.
Okay.
So it looks like I'm creating a ton of content.
Okay.
It looks like I'm in a lot of places. I mean, I actually am in a lot of places. It looks like I'm working with a lot of people in different ways and I have more time than other people. It looks like that. I don't. I have the same amount of time you do. So some people will think, well, this guy must not sleep. Or
That's what I thought for a long time. Man, this country, then that country.
I get almost 8 hours of sleep every night. I have this Whoop band. It tells me how much sleep I have. And I care about my health more important than money or any of these other sorts of things. And I was telling a friend of mine, Will, last night that, because he worked himself to the bone. He had to go to the ER and these things. This happens with entrepreneurs. They feel like they have to hustle. And, sometimes you do. But I said, you want to get more done? Get 8 hours of sleep. Because then life is on easy mode. It's like beating the computer at level 1.
Yeah.
Problems look so much smaller. You can instantly see the results. You're way more effective. If you also try to multitask. So I was on a Zoom call today, and this guy, one of our team members, was on the call, and he was doing email, and then I was saying, and then, this is one thing that I was talking to that team member, this is one thing you need to do or whatever. He had his camera off, so I didn't know if he was paying attention. And I explained this whole thing, and I said, Will, so you think you can do that, right? He's like, I was doing email, I wasn't paying attention. Okay, well, you're trying to multitask because you're so busy, you weren't doing either of those things. So the people who get stuff done, they get 8 hours of sleep, and then when they work, they do one thing at a time. And I get 800 emails a day, and that doesn't count text messages and DMs and meetings and all that kind of stuff. And what I do is I go boom, 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 boom. I get them done one at a time. I don't multitask. You can do all the research and see multitasking is impossible for humans. Even though people will claim that they can do it, you cannot. Absolutely cannot multitask.
So to be more productive, one thing at a time.
Yeah. And then I also decide each day, what's the big thing I'm going to get done? And if I get that one big thing done, sometimes it's 3 things.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter what happens on the other things because I got the most important thing done.
Yeah.
How many times have you gone to the end of the day and you're like, oh, phew, I feel like I've done so much and so busy doing like all this stuff, but you didn't get the one thing done that you knew was really important.
Actually happens quite often.
Okay, so how much is that costing you?
A lot.
And then when you don't get that one thing done that you know you needed to do, because if you do that one thing, then all these other deals happen, then all this other stuff, because there's this whole domino effect, right?
I feel like I'm getting called out right now.
Then you're screwing yourself over. And meanwhile, that creates more busy work. It creates more problems because you didn't do the one thing that you needed to do.
Yeah.
So if you follow those three things I just mentioned, you'll find you will just dominate life.
I love that. Another question is, how many VAs do you personally have to do the work, like to leverage your work?
A
Like,
lot. I have an army.
like,
Yeah.
how many? Like,
I won't tell. I'll give you the number, but it's a lot.
dang, you said an army. So, okay.
And it is me. If you reach out to me on social media, it is me.
Okay.
On email, it is me, not a VA. I did have VAs do it before, but I wasn't.
Okay. So, like,
satisfied
what
with
type
that.
of like VA? Like, what is it that you leverage for VAs for yourself? If it's not email and social media.
I don't even use VAs to plan or like book travel anymore because I feel like they don't do a good enough job.
So you do that yourself.
And I used to have an executive assistant. I fired him 3 months ago. He was from Pakistan. He was pretty good, but just what I do is I try to delegate functions out to other people so it doesn't have to intersect with me.
What does that mean?
Okay. So if you think about anything that happens repeatedly, that's a function.
Like an invoice
And you can,
or...
a function can be like onboarding clients.
Okay.
It can be building software. It can be like, creating T-shirts or whatever it might be. So anything that is any function in your business, the idea of like working on your business instead of in your business. So if you think of your business or even your life as like this complex machine with different parts,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're so busy like, in the business. But if you go to like, 10 feet looking down on all the parts of the business, even though it could be you actually doing all the stuff, how do I separate myself out from this as a business owner? So let's say you own shares of Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're the owner, you own shares in Tesla. What are things that happen inside Tesla? Now, you might be the factory worker and putting the tires on and selling the cars and all these things. But if you separate out, you're the owner. If you're a shareholder of Tesla, what role do you actually have in Tesla?
Nothing logistically.
And you shouldn't. So then you need to separate out the idea that you're the business owner, so you like own shares in Tesla, from you're a worker doing different things within the Tesla factory, like making cars and stuff. And I think
Wow.
that distinction, and people talk about it in the E-Myth, Michael Gerber. There's like different ways of looking at that. People look at traction or different sorts of CEOs. Like there's all these different ways of like trying to separate out those two. But I've found that the ownership separated from the implementation allows you to be involved in multiple companies. And it gives you leverage where you can snap your fingers on a deal that you want to get done,
Yeah.
and knowing that you can just broker and create
Yeah.
more value versus thinking as a worker, I have to do that task.
Man, that's good. Like
It's
I'm having,
because we're all stuck as workers, right?
Yeah.
It's so easy to get stuck in the worker mentality. And when you're small and all that, you feel like you have to be the worker, and you
Yeah.
do initially. You have to quickly get out of that.
And even too, like, there's a lot of people, like, I'm gonna use myself as a prime example here. Like, I feel like I'm a really talented clothing designer,
Yeah.
and it's hard for me to outsource that because I feel like I'm better than most
But
people.
design and creative stuff is tied to you. But
Yeah.
what kinds of if we were to follow you around, day after day, what % of your time is doing stuff that is repetitive that
A
you
lot.
could have offloaded?
A lot.
So that's what you need to push off to VAs. But in order to push it off and reliably, competently have it done, there's got to be a process associated with that. Exactly, step-by-step recording the training. So the reason we produce the training on digital marketing is not because we're trying to make millions of dollars selling courses. I mean, that's just a byproduct. It's because in order for us to execute at scale, we have to have documented this so that anyone that wants to come in and be a worker in our system has to have gone through that qualifying training. Otherwise, if you don't have the training, then what are you going to do? Like interview them and try to see like whether you like them or not? You're never
Right.
going to get quality that way.
Right.
And there's no consistency. And then it's just based on like subjectively, like, do I like the guy versus like, he's got to go through the training, do the exercises, get at least 80% on the quiz, and then clearly I can tell. But yeah.
But I mean,
Can be-
that all makes sense. So like going back to what you were saying, I'm pretty inspired about like being someone who takes your course to learn like how to hire VAs and all that type of stuff. And this is a really dumb question, but like, is your course applicable to literally any walk of life, or is it towards something specific?
Towards anything that is repeatable,
Okay.
ideally service businesses.
Okay.
e-com, dollar a day and these other things will apply, scaling anything. But the idea is that you have something that you've done repeatedly that generates happy clients, and you want to get more of that.
Got it. Okay. That's helpful for people listening.
Not people that are trying to come up with a new business idea.
Okay.
Or trying to start this
it has
new
to
company.
be proven and duplicatable.
For what we do, because I'm an engineer, okay. I'm not an idea guy. We're like, oh, maybe you could do this, and here's a new idea. Like, no. My whole thing is digital marketing, if you use it properly, is an amplifier to give you more of the thing that you're doing well. So if I told you, Joseph, there's this box. Whatever you put in the box, close the lid, press the button, open the lid, you get 10 times more of whatever it is. Well, you would put a dollar bill in.
Yeah.
And then get $10 back. If you put in a piece of poop, you get 10 pieces of poop back. That's not good. So I just view digital marketing as the machinery of allowing to extend what's already working in the real world. I don't view it as like this separate thing on TikTok, famous, viral, whatever. That's not what I'm trying to do. I want a clear business result that I can clearly see you're making clients happy in a particular. It should be like churches that want to be able to get people to come to Bible study. I don't know, whatever it is, like the thing that you want, the one thing that you've done repeatedly could be the POD in a certain angle, right? If you have that, you have happy customers that will talk about it, so there's a clear signal, so there's content being generated. You co-create content with other people that are leaders in different angles, then you're going to find that our system beautifully scales that and drives traffic and sales.
Wow.
And it's not because it's magic. It's because you had the necessary ingredients to start with.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
It's nothing to do with TikTok or Facebook or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think just like generally speaking, I think if people, going back to what you shared about the XYZ, you do for X that gets Y and then Z.
I help X achieve Y via Z.
Okay. I think that right there is what everybody has been looking for. Like,
that's called strategy.
Yeah. But it's so simple. Like
strategy, here's my unique selling proposition.
Yeah.
This is how I focus down and try doing everything to everybody. Yeah. How do you argue with the fact that if you're under $10 million, you have to be super clear on that niche so you can repeatedly do the thing? If you try to do everything for everybody, you'll never scale that thing because there's too many pieces to try to improve.
That's crazy. Yeah. I think everybody, you're right, everyone under 10 million is being everything to everybody.
Yeah. And the reason why they can't grow is because they keep thinking, oh, but I can also do this and I can do that. And maybe like if they're in a services business, they have what's called a dog's breakfast, where they have like 7 different clients that they built separate relationships with. They basically are running 7 different businesses.
Yeah.
Because every client's different. When you think of Chick-fil-A, what do you think of?
Chicken nuggets and chicken salad. That's
do you think of like hamburgers or spaghetti or steak? I mean, what if Chick-fil-A decided, you know what? Let's open a buffet. Let's do pizza.
They'll lose their whole market.
No, but they can make way more money by having more things on the menu, right?
No.
No?
I mean, I look at like Carl's Jr. and In-N-Out. Like In-N-Out has that line, and Carl's Jr. is one person in there.
Yeah, but look at the menu at Carl's Jr. How many things do they have?
1 million different things.
So maybe they should just keep adding more items because they'll get more sales, right?
That's crazy how they even think that way, though. There's always something new added to the menu, like at that type of change.
The issue is not you need to add more menu items to attract new customers. The issue is you need to do that one thing.
Yeah, like In-N-Out, it's just cheeseburgers and fries. That's it.
Yeah. They're never going to sell chicken sandwiches.
No. But they gave I think In-N-Out has the number 1 market share in fast food.
They're crushing it.
Yeah.
Because they do the one thing.
Yeah. Dang. Hey guys, I'm sorry, man. If you on the hot seat in this podcast, like it's I think that's the breakthrough that so many people want. It's just tell me like what to do, and this is it.
But the people they don't want they feel like if I offer fewer things, I'm going to somehow I got to pay my bills at the end of the month or whatever.
Yeah.
But the only way to move forward is you have to overcome that thing and choose the one thing.
Man.
No, but it could be like any one of these 3 things. Just choose one.
Choose the one thing.
Okay? Pray about it, talk to your friends, but choose the one thing.
Yeah.
Don't keep trying to do the 5 things.
And that's it's crazy, man. That's where I'm at. Like I would.
But you want to do all of them, don't you?
Well, the thing is like it's in one space.
Okay.
Right? It's like I want to coach someone on e-commerce. I want to do the done for you for clothing brands. I want to design for clothing brands.
But those are all separate businesses, even though they're kind of related.
And that's why I'm having I feel like this is all.
But that's why entrepreneurs get stuck.
Yeah.
Because they can't let go.
I'm on the hot seat, man. Like I'm like feeling the burn. But equally, we already made the decision to just. We already have all this going on, so I don't want to cut it. But like, we're not going to grow it.
You can keep it going, but you
Yeah.
really got to put 90% of your effort into the one thing.
And that one thing for me is we are going to become the collaboration source for influencers and personal brands, where they launch their merch with us and it's sold on our site. We're not building sites for people; it's in one place.
Good. You're reducing the complexity.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel hot in here, like I'm over here in the hot seat. Like, but you said everyone that's listening to this is going to feel the same thing.
Yeah, we're all guilty.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy how simple success can be.
Yeah.
If you dumb it down to one thing.
Yeah.
Dang, man. Like, I feel like we could turn this one podcast like 4 different podcasts because we covered so many crazy stuff, and it's like really relevant to today's times.
Yeah.
Man, I'm grateful for you, man. Like, this really, like,
it was meant to be.
Yeah, it pinpoint everything I've been trying to figure out for months in this one conversation.
Well, I think you already had it in the back of your mind,
but
you just needed permission or validation from someone else. I don't think I told. And here's proof. Did I tell you anything you didn't already know?
No.
See? But sometimes you just need the coach. That's why I said, like, I have a trainer, and he's a fitness influencer with hundreds of thousands of subscribers and all that. And is there anything that, I mean, sure, he knows, like, some things I don't know, but the stuff he's telling me to do and all that.
You already know.
I know that, but I'm paying him.
Yeah, validation and accountability.
And that's why it's worth every penny.
Yeah. Man, that's so good, man. I'm really grateful for you, bro. Like, I'm really grateful, and I feel like everyone that's listening in is feeling the same thing. And you're right. Everything that you didn't even know my business, but you said everything I already knew, but it validated it. Yeah. Dang,
any of us in a service business, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because it's clients.
So then it requires discipline to stay in one lane and not have shiny object syndrome to expand.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
Because sometimes staying in one lane, it's like, man, am I even doing it right? Like,
well, the thing that you do, the XYZ, which is the strategy, right, is separate from how you execute. So you can have virtual assistants doing things like repurposing content, or like some people might say, yeah, wait, Dennis is saying like focus on the one thing, but he's also saying claim all your social channels and run $1 a day. Like he's saying be everywhere, but how can it? I thought if you're doing one thing, you should just focus on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. Like, no. The idea of the content factory is the service that you provide is the one thing that's repeatable. The marketing of that service is multi-channel. But it's still content you created once, like this podcast, this video, it's co-created content, but it wasn't made just for YouTube or Spotify or Facebook or your website or LinkedIn or chopped up into like different social media, Instagram stories or whatever. No, it's content that's created once so that you don't have to be an Instagram expert or a Reddit or LinkedIn. Like, you see what I'm saying? And then you don't even have to touch any of those because you have a virtual assistant or somebody who's taking that content and running it through the stages of processing it, posting it on multiple places, and then promoting it. You focus where your magic is, which is as a creative designer, relationships, business owner. You're basically a content creator, relationship manager. But you don't have to get into the weeds of all the stuff that happens after that. And that's where you get leverage from VAs and systems and processes and AI. And that
makes sense.
Yeah. If you stay in the one lane of you're the content creator, then you don't. That's where you get the multiplying factor, right?
Wow.
But the minute you become a factory worker, where you're posting on Facebook and you're editing videos and you're like, now you're a worker.
Wow.
And that's $3 an hour work.
Yeah. Man, I'm having like so many different breakthroughs in this. Just listening to this last part, like the last 5 minutes. I'm like, man, I'm really grateful for this. And I know we're getting to the tail end of the podcast, and I know that there's so much more we could talk about, and maybe we do a part 2 sometime down the road. But I always wrap up the podcast with this ending question. And the ending question is, and I know it's hard for someone like you because you're all over the internet, but like, God forbid anything happening, but like if there was a time where anything Dennis Yu was gone and like no one could Google you, like there's nothing of you, but a piece of paper that you write one sentence on that's like framed in the Hall of Heroes for the rest of eternity, what would you put on the piece of paper?
Trust mentors to reveal the things that you don't know that you don't know.
That's so wise.
Because there's all the things that you know that you don't know, and you can research those and ask those questions.
Yeah.
But the beauty of a mentor is they can see around your blind spots. And the blind spots are the things that create recurring problems. So if you have a problem that keeps popping up, it's because there's something you don't see. You have a blind spot behind you. And that's why mentors are so key.
Man, that's so good. And with that being said, like, yo, I know, like, I said it. I felt like I was in the hot seat, and it's okay if you felt the same. I'm going to rewatch this podcast myself. I have so much notes I need to take, and I just want to encourage you guys, take notes, rewatch it. And also, too, like, Dennis Yu is somebody you actually should follow. And you should, interact with this post. He posts so much great. If you thought this podcast was great, just go to his social channels. Go to Google. Like, there's so much more to this. And I say this every single podcast. When you're in proximity of greatness, and I want to say that because you've done so many great things, your life does get better. Like, learn from someone who's credible, reputable, and has the knowledge that you're seeking. And I'll be honest, like, this one podcast is going to change the projection of my life. I could say that confidently because of this conversation and validation too. And you're right. Like, validation is important. Yeah. And man, I'm just so grateful for this. So
you already had it in you, Joseph. You just needed someone to give you permission to do the thing that you know you needed to do.
And I feel that's what everyone listening needs, that too.
Yeah.
And
it can't come from a robot. You needed to have it from someone who cares enough and understands the context of what you're doing.
Yeah. Man, I'm grateful for this, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, awesome.
Boom. And that's how we wrap up this episode. And look, guys, if this is the first time you're on Trailblazers Talk, I am grateful. Smash that subscribe button because there's more episodes like this. And I'm just having genuine conversations that always unpack wisdom. So if you tap in with us, if this is like your tribe, your community, just subscribe. If you're listening to this on an audio channel, whatever, like, please leave a review. It just helps this podcast grow. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next episode here at Trailblazers Talk.